All right, we've got now what 50 to 60 of you in the room, so let's get busy. Yeah, registration is open. Customized training plans and coaching, virtual coaching, in person, MDI run crew, the whole bit. Um, First reg, first serve. So that we've got 5 different groups starting up in the next. I mean, not that you have to start up necessarily in the next week or so, but early birds and everybody that's ready to go will start December 1st onward. Um, so yeah, update your running profiles if and when you're ready to go. Register, even if you're not planning to start your training, or maybe starting your training but not starting the coaching involvement right away. Good idea to register early just to lock your spot in case not everyone will, but I think a couple of the groups usually do fill up, within the first few weeks, even before the holidays. So yeah, make sure you're ready to go. As we just found out, I'm really rusty with the Zoom room. Been a few years since I've done one. Didn't even have my audio right straightened away to start. So bear with me. And we will, yeah, the Zoom rules in effect. I think we covered those. Contribute through the Zoom the chat box, and we'll see if we can keep up with that kind of thing. And if we miss any questions that aren't covered, I'm going to save the transcript, go over it later, and either individually or if it's group applicability, we'll cover it and add it to the newsletter as a bit of a recap, some highlights. Yeah, and we are recording, so I'm going to try and post this on YouTube for review, or probably most importantly for those that can't be here today or tonight. So we'll cover it all. So yeah, I'm going to hog the spotlight for a little bit here up front just to get through some of the little drier stuff, the foundational, stage setting stuff to make sure we've got that straight. And then we'll launch into some more fun stuff to close things out. We did provide you with an agenda item, 7 or 8 items on the agenda that we're going to try and address. So I won't review them, but I'll simply jump into them and start knocking them down and see how fast we can go. We do have a lot to cover, and we've even got, if everything goes well, we've got a couple of guest contributors and some surprises for you a little later in the show. And before I do just start up, I did want to mention, because everybody, it seems that through the back channels of communication, everybody's at different stages of awareness of a really, really unfortunate, oh God, unbelievably horrific accident, running injury accident that a longtime dear friend and MDI stalwart performer, fallen soldier of sorts, I guess we could say, Brian Cupid. If you run with us for a while, you probably know Brian. He had just a really crushing freak accident a little over a week ago, out for the run between seasons here. Thank goodness, with a bunch of other MDI runners who came to his aid and were indispensable in the moment to get him to the hospital. He's he can wave if he's in here somewhere. I can't see with so many faces, but he's attending. I asked and offered if he wanted to say to recount it, but he's done it so often, he's probably tired of telling the tale. So, in the briefest nutshell description, as I'm understanding it, he went out and was in two or 300 meters of the run to start, just starting to gab and loosen up into the run. Stepped in a pothole, funny, and pitched forward, kind of knees front in a slingshotty, awkward, most unconventional, unimaginable physics. Ended up landing, I guess mostly, if not all, on his knees so hard, both of them, that he cracked both patellas, one more than the other, and severed clean both patellar tendons that connect to the knee. So he can't straighten, he can't bend his legs anymore. The pain was, as he describes it, the worst he's ever had. And this fella has had a lot of different accidents and pain. So he's raised the stakes on this to be sure. Thank God the guys, the crew was there to get him to the hospital at Sunnybrook, and then he was transferred fairly soon after, within a couple of days, down to the Holland Center orthopedic unit, and they finally got to surgery on Wednesday. He's been in recovery since then for the past while, and it's not going to be a fast, well, even a slow turnaround. It's going to be a very long process because of the fact that it's both legs that are so are so broken. And so it's been a really tough pill to swallow. And I just want Brian to know, and that I think I'm going to speak for all of us to let him know that we feel for you. And, we are in your corner. Yeah, lots of heart emojis at this point because it's going to be, he knows it's going to be a tough road to hoe to recover. And yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about some things we could do to support him on his road to recovery. Um, so, but aside from that, if you know Brian and can work it into your schedule, I think he's still going to be down at that hospital for at least a week more or more, maybe longer. I don't know the timeline, but if you're down there and can pay him a visit, up for that. I'd probably appreciate the distraction. So let me know, either a text or an email is probably the best way to handle it, and I'll connect you with his wife. Okay, and you can work the scheduling out. So Godspeed on the recovery, Brian. My goodness, that sounds pretty rough. All right, so on to I guess a lighter and brighter news, I suppose, as the running world turns. We just wanted to highlight this new reality, the new paradigm shift, if they use the overused phrase. There's been so many changes in the local running scene and beyond that we just want to make sure everybody's aware that, for example, locally, around the Bay has moved 2 or 3 weeks later into mid-April. Under Armour 10K, which has been a staple of the June sort of early summer season, is now end of the spring season, also a week later in April 18th. So that means that in addition to the spring runoff at the beginning and the Mississauga events at the end, every single weekend of April, it's like a gravity tractor beam for events. There's something going on, which perhaps potentially complicates the end of season planning that you do for mid-season, late season, and maybe ultimately your biggie, your big final race season as well. So plan carefully, plan ahead very carefully, okay? The other aspect, I think we'd all be, or maybe almost all, be in agreement is that climate over time is starting to affect at least our window of when we're performance driven, ideal race conditions on the average year by year. Heat, humidity on the front end, and extreme variability even on the other end are making performance race related goals and choices more difficult. It's kind of scrunched the seasons. Now your ideal fall race season is at late October to basically November if you're really looking to throw down. In the spring, it's also pushed that forward to April or even early April. So keep that in mind, especially this coming season, the spring. There's always been a reason we call it the Ottawa Marathon, now more than ever, perhaps. Otherwise, a terrific event in every respect. But climate is a factor, so plan ahead carefully. And maybe also there's been a rampant, I think we can all attest to it, there's been a rapid growth in running popularity in general, event sizes, especially the big ones, but even the next big ones in kind of a pot spilling over effect as races fill up for the first time ever, in many races and earlier than ever, way earlier, like months ahead sometimes. So don't be caught off guard about your goal races. Again, plan ahead early. That's become a necessary, I guess, evil, or it's a consequence of a good thing. Running is very popular, but keep that in mind. And also with the majors, we've kind of always known this, and I certainly felt it last year in Berlin, and I've heard more from the early birds of 2025 crowd. That majors, all those races that are 40, 50, 60,000 runners, they're getting logistically unwieldy. They're getting hard to manage in the lead up and the beforehand and the long waits so it's harder to optimize your readiness to drop a big performance. I'm not at all trying to dissuade you from the majors. Go for it, but do it. I guess try and do it for maybe other reasons, as in there are many to do races for, than pure strict gunning for performance. Pick maybe other races that are a little smaller, a little more friendly in terms of the logistics and all the invariable stuff that has to go into getting things just right. Okay. Yeah, plan ahead again carefully. finally, I just saw, talk about topical, I just saw an article in Canadian Running today. There are scamming races afoot, not just bib numbers. Now, there's a story in Canadian Running about some guy fabricating races and entire race entries. So people are registering for races in support of the Canadian Cancer Foundation, and there's no race. He somehow walks away with the money. So another reason to yet again be very careful. Um, one was supposed to be located recently at the base of the Humber, and I swear we were down there. I'm thinking back a couple weeks ago when some people came up to us and said, "Is this the race? Is this a race?" And then we were saying, "No, it's just us running." I'm wondering if that was unsuspecting poor victims of this race scammer. So again, just a, I don't know, a more colorful and hopefully small scale aside to be careful in planning ahead on your races. Okay. Um, we'd like to see all of the runners we're working with, training and coaching, make smart, high probability of success choices, getting into their chosen races, and even ideally, at least in some small groups or larger groups, grouping together, working together towards some of these races. It's happening. It always does organically, but can we nudge that along? Can we help that process along? So what I was hoping everybody could do in terms of like getting ahead of things, could you just into the chat type maybe just your one big goal if you know it, or if you're already registered or you're highly planning to register, just blurt it out there rapid fire. I just want to get a sense. I'll go over and aggregate the data later. Who's training for what kind of thing? I mean, I know I'll have this data when you've completed all your stuff later, but this is like in one place I can kind of, back of the envelope figure out and see where the locuses are. We do have a subgroup planning to do, I believe, the Vancouver Marathon, half marathon in early May. That might be a fun, different, because, a lot of you have done the local ones again and again. Might be looking for something a little further afield, a little slightly more exotic. So that could be one. We actually have a sizable contingent already. Not that you can do anything about joining them, but going to London. But we can link all you guys together. There's a few, London, England. We'll always have a Boston crew as well. But are there other races along the way, like the early bird, the Robbie Burns 8K, 5K, 8K? Is it 4K? Anyways, the 8K is the main one I know. In January, the Chile half, of course, is a standard bearer around the bay. So I'd like to get a sense of how many and who's going where, and maybe we can, foster some team road trip challenges along the way. That would be cool. All right. So I'll get that together for everybody within once we see what everybody's doing, and yeah, hopefully that'll help you make some either final or maybe mid-season races choices because it's so important to do at least one or two, maybe not more than three. Mid-season lead-up races. Don't go 4, 5, 6 months without racing and then push all your chips into the one big race you're planning and hoping and as your target event because so much can go on and go potentially wrong. Okay. I think essentially number two, we wanted to just quickly, and I mean Cole's notes version, rapid fire, go down some tips to remember and understand about your VDOT uploaded training plan, the platform that we provided to you on. Many of you are either old hat now, you're pretty good with this stuff. You might even have insights that I may not or have missed. But we did just want to make sure that for those, especially that have worked with us before, and even more so the newbies, that you understand a couple of basics to start with, and then we can always deal with smaller details and questions. You can use the tech aspect of VDOT as much or as little as you're comfortable with. Once we provided your plan on VDOT through that platform, you can be old school like me and use the toggle at the top to print out 2 to 4 weeks at a time and use that as I always did for decades, use that as your guide that you're going to, dance with through life and then check it the next 2 weeks as you come up. So you can go printed version. Most people, I guess, probably use a little more technologically robust approach where they are looking at it regularly on their laptops or their phones. Some flip to the other side, the most technologically robust, and use the executable, like the downloadable live workouts on your Garmin. That's fine. That's cool. Definitely. There are certain instances it might even be definitely a good idea in the winter when you don't want to be pressing buttons with big gloves on and things like that. So there's lots of good reasons to do that. Definitely. So up to you how much of the tech side you use. It's flexible that way. Um, I did want to make sure people read the notes when they're there. They're not always there, but when they're there at the bottom of the workout, like you do have to click on them. It's probably easier on your laptop than your phone, but you can do it. Make sure you, just in case there's smaller kernels of truth and tips on how the execution side, how to do particular workouts, especially your quality ones, we'll call them, like your intensity workouts, your OMP family, ordinary mortal pace family, and then the family of long run type workouts. Definitely important. Speaking of which, those quality sessions, those ones I just mentioned, they drive like 90% of your potential, training improvement, fitness, adaptation, the whole bit. So plan your week around those. Move those around to fit your week if it can't go as planned originally, as most of the time. I don't remember the last week I had to go perfectly according to plan. So you're always going to be making subtle changes. Try and protect those. If something has to give, make it the next level of workouts, the recovery run, the fartleks, cross training, and move your rest days around as you need to. Try and protect those big three, we'll call them. Okay. Um, as far as VDOT, the actual VDOT value that will at any given time help prescribe your training paces. We obviously adjust that and set that based on your actual or adjusted speed check at the beginning of the season, maybe recent or not too distant historical race performances, or at the end of it, or also considered maybe where you want to go with your goals, end of season race goals. We'll look at all that and we'll massage things around to come up with your operational VDOT value. I really want to make sure you understand that not to make any independent unilateral changes to your VDOT value on your own. Happy to consider changing it mutually, together, collaboratively, but don't either do it of your own accord, either consciously, because you think, I'm beating up my workouts. This is too easy, or maybe that it's too hard and struggling. So anything might be true, but let's have that discussion before we make those adjustments. And even the more passive adjustment, there are systems when you enter a race result in VDOT, an auto prompt will come up saying, do you want to adjust your VDOT based on that race result? Please say no, skip it, delete, do not accept that. But take that maybe as, VDOT thinks it should change. Maybe I should check in with my coach and see, does that hold water? Should we or not? And by how much? Okay. So just don't independently do that because I can't necessarily see when that happens. So then we're operating off two different song sheets. So I just want to make sure you understood that on the way up. Yeah, we move your key workouts, those biggies, around based on what you've told us for default, where you want to put most of your big workouts as a standard week. But of course, life is life. It gets in the way. So you sometimes have to move your plan around. It's very easy to do technically on VDOT. You just, if you're on the laptop especially, or the desktop, just grab and go. I think you can do it on the phone as well, but for me, it's a little tougher. So you choose how you want to move workouts around. You're welcome to do so, but just a little proviso reminder, not to bookend two quality workouts, if at all possible, especially later in the season, meaning intensity with OMP or OMP with long run family workouts, those kinds of things. Try to break them up almost at all cost with a rest day, a cross training day, an easy recovery run day, something in the middle. Okay, so just extra rest days is better than bookending two. So keep that in mind. Don't break that hard, easy principle. With the one exception, it's not really breaking it, but it's just doubling down on understanding that there's one type where I don't want you to break them up, and that's that P1-2 punch. Don't worry if you're new to, you'll get it in your plan. Most have seen them before. Those are one workout spread over 2 days within 24 hours. That's an important distinction. So sometimes I see people move things around. They orphan a P1 and then they do a P2, and that takes away from the aggregate intentional adaptation and focus and purpose of the workout. Okay, so always they move as a unit. You can move them wherever you want, but make sure they move together in lockstep. Just a quick thing on that. Virtuous coaching in general, or virtuous coaching for a week when you aren't going to come to a group workout. So let us know, but treat that weekly exchange. Find 5 or 10 minutes somewhere in your week. It's always a good idea to assess, not just look at my one workout or that I just did, but take a look at your week. How did that go? Is there any trends or patterns here in the last couple of weeks. Look ahead to the next week and look ahead to life in the next week. Do I need to make some shimmy, and do I have to shimmy things around to make it line of best fit? Always better to do it proactively than reactively and find out, oh, I have no time for my big run, this week or my OMP. So yeah, take those little 5 to 10 minute pauses somewhere, usually probably for most on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but not always. Could be some other time in the week to do that. And finally, a reminder that the prescribed paces are not to be pursued at all cost exactly. They are a rough target that for starters has a range, even on perfect weather and you feeling A1 top ready to go. It's a range. For the faster runs, it might be as long as you're within 5 or 6 seconds per K. For the slower runs, it might be 10 or 15 seconds per K, either side. Okay, that's under ideal conditions. Then you apply or the template of often irregular, inopportune conditions, whether that be the extremes in the summer or winter of very poor footing or 38 humidex. And we have tools for you to help with adjustment if you're not comfortable with trusting yourself on the effort adjustment. We have tools for how much to slow your paces down, heat adjustment and footing adjustment, and we'll provide those for the winter season in due course here pretty soon. But reminders about that. Don't pursue the objective accuracy at all costs, because that's inimical to your success. You're actually being smarter and more deft in your approach by dancing around it appropriately based on external and sometimes internal conditions. Okay, so that's those reminders on that. We're in pretty good shape. Pressing ahead, I'll do 3 or 4 really good reminders we've talked about the training plan, the training log side of things, which one of the most important reminders would be, 90% of you probably these days are on Strava, just automatically, that's your training log. 10 or 12% maybe are still on Garmin Connect. Either's fine, but that's where you're automatically recording your workouts. And if you're on Strava, please join our MDI Run Crew Strava group, because we're going to be putting route maps for certain runs on that. We're going to be doing any event stuff. We're going to try and tie Strava in a little bit more. I don't mean to pressure anyone into doing Strava only, but try, if you are open to Strava or joining, if you're not already, try and join it and try and join our Strava group. But I want to remind everyone that for your training log purposes, even though we use VDOT for to provide your training plan, we do not, in any kind of default, use the VDOT training log to review, assess, and analyze and provide modification to your training. Okay. So if you want to use that, that's your own. It's like a private diary, unless you bring it up in an email exchange to go review it. Don't assume I'll ever see it. What I'll see will be usually, because you're already there, you're probably doing it as a force of habit anyways. Your Strava is probably the best place to put your notes and context, about yourself, about objective conditions, things like that. Put that stuff as much as you're comfortable. I don't want to overshare in your Strava or your Garmin Connect. That's probably and there is a way to put private notes in there too, if you want to keep some stuff private, and then just know it's there, and then refer to it in our coaching exchanges after that. Okay, but don't just put a note in VDOT and assume in the training log part and assume I'll see it, because with over 100 runners, I don't see those logs. I have to. Strava is my feed for starters, so that's the best one, and then I can do Garmin Connect as well. But yeah, don't put your notes there. Please edit and title your runs, at least the biggies. Okay, don't have to do it every run and get creative over above what you want to be. But for your biggies, like your long run family, your OMPs, and maybe your speed work, once it auto loads, go in and edit and retitle that with something close to, either exactly or close to, what we've called it in your plan. The reason is that again, when I'm trying to review your training and assess and analyze, I need to be able to compare apples to apples and figure out what's what. Just seeing Sunday run, afternoon run, it takes 10 minutes of detective work to figure out what workout was this, especially if people don't do them on the same days as planned. So please edit and title your runs. At least the biggies would be a good one to work for you. I cannot express how helpful that is to me, because then I can work a lot faster to give you the feedback that you're so deserving of getting in your training. And then One final thing, again, this is a preference and it helps me out. I think it could help you out too. For any significant workout that's a bit of has some pace to it, and you're going to do a warm up and cool down, whether it's on the schedule or just of your own volition, try and separate the warm up and the cool down. I don't want to pollute your Strava too much with workouts, but for key ones, OMPs, speed work, race paces, things like that, it's a good idea to make a separate run for the warm up and or the cool down if you do it, and then the meat of the sandwich, the main event, is a single run. Helps on the having to not do back end work to retroactively figure out what your true paces are and look at pace progression, things like that. It's sort of a guts, behind the scenes thing. It really helps out. So, and just obviously average pace calculations and things like that. So it helps us if you separate out warm-ups and cool downs. Having said that, the other reminder about your watch is when you do oh yeah, some people I'll come back to that, Maurten. When you do a workout, a speed workout, or anything with a lot of pace changes, fartleks, things like that, but especially speed work, intensity workouts, rep work, intervals, please try and make the big workout all in one file. It's a start, and then from there on, usually on most Garmin's, it's a bottom right split button all day long. Stop, start, finish rep, finish rest, rest, run, rest, run, rest, run, and then stop, final when you're done. And then your entire workout is there to analyze in one place. We can check your rest recoveries, we can check your speeds on reps. We can also isolate total rest breaks and other things that behind the scenes. So that's a really helpful thing. And then also for your Strava buddies, it doesn't show 15 entries all from you at one time. So that's helpful as well. All right. Hilly, what's hilly? Just putting it out here now so people know ahead of time. When we say hilly OMP, hilly long run, by and large, we want to see a good guideline. It would be about 10 meters of elevation climb per kilometer. Okay, as a rough, pretty specific guide, 9 to 11, 10 meters. So if it's a 10K run, you're looking at 100 meters of elevation, roughly. Okay, for a hilly run, or a 20K could be up to 200 for a longer one. So yeah, that's what hilly means. Try and trend, and the only way you can tell that is trial and error, test and verify. So yeah, try a run, see if that you thought would work, check the numbers, and it's not quite hilly enough. Go find a couple more hills to add in, or whoa, that's too hilly. So, or I don't want to do that all the time. So keep that in mind. Breaks, continuous runs, that whole thing. It matters how continuous a run is versus how much break time you have, especially in long runs. So keep tabs on it. It's not that you shouldn't have breaks. They're sometimes vital and important and necessary with water and things, or washroom on occasion. But keep it's like a F1 or an Indy pit crew. The meter's running when you're on break, okay? And the guideline would be, I think, safely anything under 2 minutes per hour at the end of the run is probably safe. So, if it's a 2-hour run, anything a 4 minute or so or break time, you're clean. And it's a hard standard. I don't achieve it very often. I'm always struggling to keep my rest breaks to those tough gold platinum standards of rest recovery. But if I see on Strava, and occasionally I'm guilty of it, but I see a lot on other runners as well, of like 10, 20, 30 minutes plus of rest time or break time along on a run. That's not going to do you any favors when you start, because you now have a totally separate feel comparison for feel to pace. You're thinking things are a lot easier than they are. And then in a race, you're not going to take those breaks ideally. And it's a rude awakening on race day. So keep break times under control. Obviously, the tough part about that is socially. The two hardest parts about that, I find, are when you're running socially with a lot of people, different people want to take breaks at different times. Try and communalize them as much as possible, knowing that it won't always work and they'll have to have independent breaks. One thing we've done for decades, really, way before we could monitor rest breaks with fancy watches, was if someone needs to take a break all of a sudden, give us an estimate. Going to be 2 minutes, going to be 4 minutes, whatever. And then the crew carries on for half that and then doubles back for the other half and then picks up. So even if you do have to stop for a bit, it's a shorter break. The rest of the crew keeps moving, keeps running, and keeps the train going. Okay. So yeah, social breaks can be massaged, I think is a good way to put it. And then the other break time, it's very hard for key runs, harder, faster runs to in urban environments, the downtown Toronto crowd. I feel you or feel for you. It's very hard sometimes to do that. Um, Either plan routes that have lots of right turns and like loops and course, like, try and minimize the red lights and the street crossings, or drive if you have to, or try and get to, warm up to, or drive to just once or twice a week for a key run if you need to a place where there is like the lakefront where there's less need to stop for traffic so you can kind of settle in and not have breaks. Okay, so those are some reminders on that. I won't get into. Oh, and finally, have access to a treadmill in the winter, not so much the summer. I'm not purporting to put treadmill running on a pedestal above outdoor running. Of course, that's always the first, I feel, it's always the first choice. But if you've got big goals and you want to keep your training consistent, I think today more than ever now with the weather doing what it does, we risk the weather determining our consistency and therefore perhaps even our fitness and whether or not we're able to reach and hit our goals and how well we're going to do. So if you don't want the weather to dictate that and be at its mercy, I think you need access to a treadmill. Okay, you could mean buying one and having one in your house, be the most expensive option. Many do, I suppose. It could be having access to a gym on a regular gym membership. But failing that, even if neither of those appeal to you, what about one of these cheapy gym, like the low cost versions, the Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness, just getting a 3 or 4 month membership from like December to March or something like that, so that you have access to. I've checked those places. The treadmills are usually pretty good. Uh, just when you need it, because then for safety's sake, if nothing else, doesn't even have to be like, you're not wimping out on the weather about how tough you are. I retreat to the treadmill more often than I'd probably like to admit sometimes in the winter for safety's sake when you're going to run fast or hard, that kind of thing. So if you want to be able to keep those workouts building, layering brick on brick, then make sure you have access to a treadmill. Okay. Good. We're trying. We're getting there. We're all good. Just before we get to some really, well, no, now I think we're at the fun stuff, talking about less technical business. So made it through the tough stuff. And I did want to just draw your attention to, I think I've included the first draft of it in the last newsletter. And in this next week's one, I will have a slightly refined, updated one. The winter spring calendar for MDI, the everything we can think of to throw on that calendar is included with that newsletter. And I'll put it on the website so it's just easy reference. Every single week or weekend, anything we're doing is now on that calendar. So you'll see basically the patterning of long runs on Sundays. The default would be hilly and then flat, hilly, flat, hilly, flat, incorporating into that once a month race pace workouts. And I still have to put out that reminder, even though I do it like for years, every few weeks, that you have a race pace in your plan somewhere in the month. We have a race pace on the schedule in the month. That might overlap. That might, that might intersect. There's a two or three out of 3 or 4 chance that it won't intersect. So you do that. You ahead of time, you move because we want you there for the race paces. You move those weekends. You line them up if you're going to attend. I don't know everyone that's going to attend. I wish everyone would, but it doesn't always happen. Of course, everybody's busy. But when you're going to attend, you move those dates ahead of time to link up, and therefore everything else shifts around a little bit. So that's totally fine. But do it ahead of time because those dates aren't going to fix. The race paces are set for January, February, and March. So those are big, important workouts. Basically, the black ones are the default, the regular ones, the everyday versions. The red colored runs or events, those are like double points. Those are the ones we really, really want you to see at, so we get as many of our runners together, whether they be mid-season races, race pace runs, themed long runs like the hellacious journey ones we talk about. We're doing a couple of those this coming season, or other special events. So yeah, look that over, especially once you get your plan and kind of just line it up. Oh, that one links, that one, oh, that one's off. Massage it, make sure we're in lockstep is all I would say on that front for your schedule. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Sponsor update. Well, yes, there's some cool news down the pipe. In a nutshell, very quickly, what can I tell you? New Balance is on tap. We are all set again for a new season, probably year. Looking forward to our discount program running with New Balance and Culture. I just need to hear back the final details because we were pushing for slightly amended, a couple of slight amendments to our agreement last year. We think we can. New Balance is all over. They're very keen, two thumbs up, to include every single model carried through Culture on our 25% discount program, including the SC Elite, okay, the fancy race day shoe that I've fallen in love with, and many of you have as well, based on your race day pictures. So that one we think is on tap and will be included. Just have to finalize it with Culture. And the other thing was a slightly bigger window for the season, like 8 weeks, starting maybe in January sometime till March. So the key decision-making times for your gear, I think. We want to see if we can get that a little bigger, and I think they'll go for it. But it just needed to hear. I was hoping to hear back before the Zoom. Just needed to hear that from Nigel, the principal at Culture. So that's all in play. We also have a pretty exciting. I just can't announce it yet because it's got to be up the administrative approval chain. But in principle, we have an agreement with a brand new sports med rehab operation that is very run specific in and of itself. But one of the best parts of this, and I hate to be cryptic, or I'll divulge it all soon, but we've got a really truly amazing expert as sort of our Harry Potter sorting hat. That anytime someone needs help with an injury, goes to me, and I go to them. There is this network of over 24 sports med facilities in and around the GTA, even beyond, that not only do they know geographically to match it up, but they have intimate knowledge about who is sort of the expert in that area, good with that particular injury. So it's like you get a really good, flow chart of decision making already before you get your recommendation of who to go to. And then we will have a sponsor agreement with them as well. So just about to announce that one. Was hoping again to have it ready, but I just need one more approval. But yeah, that's going to be really cool. And then really extra cool, this one is official. We also have on board, I think many, if it's not everyone, it's going to be by the end of the season, but many of our longtime runners' favorite fueling resource is Maurten is on board as a sponsor for Marathon Dynamics this year. So we've got lots of fun stuff happening, both experientially and also discount code savings for you as well. And so, yeah, I mean, it goes without saying to some degree, Maurten has been the leading edge, really global leader in sports nutrition and fueling for quite a number of years now. And we're really excited to have them as our exclusive fuel partner and bring these products and their expertise to Marathon Dynamics with us. Personally, I believe that the addition of one particular product, Maurten Bicarb, to my during my record assault attempts here especially this past season, helped me and led me to put me over the edge on a couple of those records. So I'm indebted to them already for their help, and I'm looking forward to some more help this year for chasing some more records. So yeah, really excited to introduce them. And I believe somewhere in this crazy matrix of people, we have representatives from Maurten with us. Yeah, we've got Sarah Donaldson here, and we also have someone that may not need any introduction, Rachel Hanna, who's also on a newly appointed position with Maurten as well. Yeah, so you mic up and introduce yourselves and tell us who you are and what we're looking forward to.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kevin. And thanks everyone for hosting us tonight. We're so excited to fuel Marathon Dynamics for the upcoming season. And for those of you who have either tried it before or haven't had the chance to try it, Coach Kevin was mentioning there will be lots of opportunities to try both between, sampling, trialing it during a workout, which we're excited to come out and support you on, and then through discount as well. Rachel and I are also here as resources. So if you ever have any fueling questions, hey, I'm doing a marathon, half marathon, 5K, we are here as experts in the field. Rachel maybe a little bit more from the nutrition side. I lead sales Canada wide for Maurten. So we are so excited to support you all through your running journey. And thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm here. Can you hear me? Or are we?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, no, thanks for hosting us and having us join the team. It's really great. I've known Kevin for many years and done lots of talks, and I've worked individually with a lot of you, and it's been a real pleasure. I've really enjoyed working with everyone individually, so it's really nice to be able to get more in depth now with the Maurten education. We'll set some stuff up in the new year too. We'll spend, a whole session going over all the details, all the research, kind of really dive into the science of it. So I'm really excited to be partnering up and just sharing insights too. Like Kevin mentioned, I think an exciting product in addition to, the gels and the drink mixes, the bicarb. So having conversations around that, and I think that'll be really exciting too. And I can, share just my knowledge and experience with that as well. So. Yeah, it's really great. And Sarah has really she's being very modest there, but she's an elite marathoner herself, 2:45 runner, so she's got tons of experience as well with using the products and performance too. So we're here to help. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
and welcome to our team.
Yeah.
Definitely very cool. Thanks for coming. And yeah, we're working our way through. We're already on item 7 of 8, so we're getting there. It's going quicker than I thought. I wanted to make sure that everybody was reminded or aware of, because sometimes when you register, you click through things like waivers and that and don't really read them. I want to make sure we're aware of the MDI Run Club. When you're going to be a part of the Run Club, the perks and privileges, we've kind of touched on most of that stuff here. The front end, the sponsor discounts and products and services, the group run support, team events, the free singlets, low cost team gear, that kind of thing. Oh, and by the way, that was one item I kind of skipped over. New team gear. It's related to the sponsor because it looks like we're working on the graphic interface and getting things going, but it looks like we're going to be migrating our team gear to and through working now with New Balance. So they have some incredible race stuff. I know I've been running in it for quite a while, and I'm eager to share it with you guys. So fairly soon, in a reasonably tight window, we will be, once the artwork and the graphics is all worked out, we should be able to put into production some rejuvenated and new gear for the new season ahead of when we need it for racing for not the January races, or maybe not February, but in March sometime we should have all of our gear tied in with New Balance, which is pretty cool. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, those are the perks and privileges side. But perhaps the most important of the privileges is that the group workout in person, bronze level, silver coaching stuff that we do for our workouts, that's reserved for people who join the MDI run crew. It's like a tied in perk. We can still coach you if you're not part of the MDI run crew, but you can't be part of those particular groups. We can do it privately. We can do it virtual e-coaching. If you're in the MDI run crew, then you can be part of those different workout groups around the city or wherever outside the city in some places. So that's one of the perks to being a part of it. And I'm going to say we can train people who aren't. And in fact, even those that we virtually coach, whether it's geographically or in the city otherwise, that, we don't come to the workouts, they can also be part of the MDR run crew as long as they accept the perks and privileges, but also meet the pledges and promises. And those 3 pledges and promises are what I want to just remind everybody of. Number 1, if you're in the MDI run crew, for all local and, Southern Ontario anyways, races, we race in our singlets. We represent the team or some other gear, one of our other gear that we have. But we want to have that purple power, purple presence when we're representing ourselves at these community races. So that's part of the deal. And we are working on a little offshoot. I'm still, because we're new to New Balance, we might be able to do it through New Balance, but we're looking at a a backup version for the summer months for women on the jog bras. So we think we can even cover that. But yeah, we want to make sure everybody understands that for big international races, if you've got we'd love to have you in our stuff for that, but we understand there might be a reason to that you might want to do something special. So let us know, and that's not a problem. So exceptions can be made for those on the international scene, if you will. And number two, join us for at least one per month of our group weekend runs. I mean, the hope and the expectation is that it'll be much more than that. It'll be 2, 3, 4 times, in some months, often, frequently, but at least once a month for the season. So 5 at the very minimum, you could say, through the whole first, summer, fall, winter, spring, minimum of 5 runs. Come to our group runs. If you can't, be geography or scheduling with whatnot with other commitments, we understand that, and there's a makeshift way we can do things through social media, just through posting when you do runs on the weekend, but basically for a missed group run. But yeah, so we're just looking for to try and foster that team running, because it's really amazing when it happens. We can see it weekend in, weekend out when it's there. So we just want everybody to be a part of that. And so, but still be super flexible. So once a month or more if you can, but once a month, come to some of these runs. And you got the schedule, you can match them up for the biggies, the important ones like race paces and theme events and things. So those would be the ones, if you're only coming once a month, to try and make it to. But keep up with those. So wearing our singlet, coming out to at least one run a month. And the final part, a good way to segue into our final guest speaker here, is to volunteer or participate in at least one, no more than that, crew cause for the season. What's a crew cause? It's an MDI water station. It could be for a race pace, helping us out there, but an MDI water station or a cheer station. We usually have 1 or 2 at least per season options to join us, like Sporting Life or Waterfront Marathon. The new one will be Hamilton for the fall season. Or you don't have to do just one, but a start to finish program. They have events that you can help out, like we do with volunteer at an event. And the big commitment, the most valuable one, is to be a coach for a season or something, to and through this amazing program that you're going to hear a little more about seconds from now. Or if none of that can work because of your crazy work and weekend and family schedule, make a donation of some amount, doesn't matter, whatever's good for you, some amount to start to finish. Okay, many of you know about start to finish from past experience with us. Some may not remember, or some may not even know what it is. And so for that reason, I want to turn the floor over here as we get close to closing our meeting to Paul Huyer, a stalwart, long time, top performing MDI runner. 3 of the last 4 years, he's finished on the podium in Boston. Do I have that right? I think. So many know that, many may not. But yeah, terrific. 4 of the last 4. 4 of the last 4, and has won it. So I don't know where I thought you missed one. But aside from his accomplishment on the running front, he is probably one of the most selfless, generous, giving people on earth I can imagine. The stuff that this guy does is incredible. It's just unending. And one of his big commitments and projects is with Start to Finish, which he's a board member of. And I'll turn it over to Paul to tell us a bit more about Start to Finish, our chosen charity.
Thanks very much, Kevin. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah.
Yep.
I was worried my Apple was doing planned obsolescence with my AirPods.
Still
There's
alive.
been some issues with that. Okay, just 1 second. Okay, I'm timing. So I have been volunteer coach in a Start to Finish running and reading club for 14 years now. And this is probably my favorite photo. You can see the effort on my face because I'm pacing Hassan, the 5K race at the end of the school year at York University. And Hassan ended up winning his age category. And so but he made me work to keep up with him. So why do I keep coming back after 14 years? Well, it's so these children are living in poverty generally. We target neighborhoods that below the poverty line. And we run a fitness and literacy program for them, 2 hours after school. And why do I come back? Because mainly for the running component, obviously, the fitness component. I like the literacy component as well, but it's the fitness. And it's really sharing my love of running with the kids and getting them to develop a love of running. And there's usually a few kids every year that unlock some hidden talent. And, we just encourage them, they go for it, and they really leave with a love of running. There's some as well who maybe aren't that fast, but also love the running, love the competition, love the fitness aspect of it. I also love connecting with some of the students one-on-one. So I volunteer at a program in North Kipling, and I'd been away for a few weeks, and I came back last week, and all the kids came up and go that knew me from last year and go, Coach Paul, it's so great to see you. And oh, you've grown a beard since we last saw you. You look a lot older. And then one kid, it was just Remembrance Day. You might have seen this on my Strava post. But one kid asked me if I was alive during World War II.
Whoa.
So, so yeah, that's the things that's the things that kids say are great. So yeah, it's just wonderful working with these kids. I keep coming back. And let me give you a little bit in the few minutes I have left about the program. So I'll just tell you verbally. There's nothing I have to share here. But what it is we have 5 locations, after school programs, 5 schools in Toronto and 4 in Mississauga. And ideally, we would like coaches to come out every week for about 30 weeks throughout the school year. Obviously, that's hard to do. So if you miss a few weeks, it's fine. They're Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays. It runs from October to May, and it culminates, as I said, in the 5K Running and Reading Challenge, which is, Mike, you can go on the website to find that out, the start to finish website. They'll show you the locations. So now it might be tough for everybody for people to commit right off the bat. So what I would like to do, and I did this with a previous run group, is suggest that we have 4 or 5 people come to one of the sessions, either at Lord Dufferin, which is in Moss Park, or North Kipling, which is my program in North Etobicoke. And we can have 4 or 5 people design a run workout for the kids. So I think that would be great. I'll reach out afterwards to see if yeah, thanks, Katie. I'll reach out afterwards and with Kevin's help and see if people are interested in that. But it's a fantastic program. It's got me coming back for 14 years. And if you have a love of running and you like kids, it's a perfect program for you. So any questions, go on the website, reach out to me via Kevin or me directly through Strava. If you don't have my contact details, and yeah, I'll work on trying to organize a guest visit. Thanks very much. Thanks for the time, Kevin.
You're more than welcome. Yeah, no, I highly recommend the program. I try and chip in one way, shape, or form each year. Often these days, it's just with the big end of season, bash at the end when these kids finally get to do the big event at the end, and I think the best part for them is they finally get their shoes for the big day. That program has been, I don't know if it's still going, but is it like they still get the shoes, or is that still in play?
Yes, it is. We had to switch suppliers because we had Saucony for many years, and
Yeah.
Saucony stopped making kids shoes. So now we
Oh,
now we have Nike
awesome.
shoes.
well, glad that it carried on when you lost Saucony. I remember Saucony for so long. And yeah, it's been a number of years now, but I did the coaching that Paul's referencing at North Kipling, and yeah, formative. I'm never going to forget some of the relationships with the kids. It's really important work and well worth it. So if you can help in any of that capacity, that'd be great. So please, yeah, let us know if you can jump in. Other than that, I think we've got most of what we need to do done. Wow, right on the wire, 8 o'clock. Thanks everyone. Just tying up loose ends, just because it's du jour topical. After my year of running for these records, I see there's been a bit of a literally tempest in the teapot, I realize, but some media excitement about what I've been doing. And so I've had some reach outs from articles and reach outs from podcasters. And so I'm new to it all and learning as I go, but it's been fun to jump in and do some of these podcasts. I did another one last week on the Shakeout podcast. So I'll include the link, I guess, in one of the newsletters coming up. Some already, I guess, have found out through social media, which I don't really do. Maybe I will now though, because I'm getting all into it. But yeah, thanks for all the positive feedback and the kind words. It's been fun to do that, I have to say. Yeah, any other last minute questions that I'm probably goofing and forgetting to bring up? I tried to cover a lot of ground, I know, and don't fret if you don't. You say you could have taken notes, but you don't need to. We'll have the video. I'll do a summary, pouring over the responses we've got here in the text. And yeah, I'm just excited for the season ahead to kind of get rolling. So no huge rush, but if and when you're ready, it'll be a soft start, progressive roll, and that's the way I like it. I don't need everybody to start at once, but those that are keen, those that have, I always say, when do I start for a new season? Well, it's flexible. It depends on the run. There isn't a magic start date, but I would say that if your end game goal is early, mid-April, you should start sooner than later. If your end game goal is longer than shorter, start early, like, closer to early December or so. If you've got big dreams, if you've got like, hey, I don't just want to do as well as I've done before, but I want to go to that next level. I want a PB or a PR. I want to, some of you thinking about Boston and things. If you've got big goals, again, that biases you to starting a bit early just to get a little more runway and ability to multiply the gains and maybe build in some hiccups too, like, being realistic along the way rather than just timelining your perfect season. So those are reasons that you might consider starting early. But if you're keen to be involved with us this season, then I would say maybe register early, only because if you have a particular group that you want to be a part of, like I know that, for example, the Thursday morning Monarch Park group. Funny, the indoor groups get pretty popular in the winter. What is that? That you might want to claim your spot ahead of time, even if you're not going to start your training or your coaching till a couple or more, even a month later. Okay. Yeah. Oh, stadium cost. I'm going to put that in the email to everyone as a reminder, but also especially those that have registered for the program. I think it's $150 plus tax is the entire season from as early as you want to start in December till the middle of April. Okay, so it works out. If you were there every week, it's about $8. They increased the price a little from the last couple of years. They held it at the same, but I guess like everything else, it had to go up a little bit. But a small price to pay for perfect footing, cushy track, windless environment, temperate reason. You can wear shorts most of the time. The morning group, it's iffy sometimes if they had the heater on. But yeah, just for the controllability factor, I think it's worth its weight in more than $8 a week. So yeah, I'll put that out there, and that will just be they're charging us like 10,000 something dollars. I'm going to pay 5,000 up front and then 5,000 later. So I will start a collection plate for everybody involved and try not to be out of pocket before we get too far into the season. But yeah, that'll be how we'll handle all that. And yeah, collective thought of comeback will for Brian. We're thinking about you if you're still on the Zoom. You probably are still doped up on pain medication, so maybe you checked out on the Zoom, which would be great. Get some rest. Um, Everybody else, we good? Want to call it there for now, and look forward for some of you even to next week getting rolling, and others a couple weeks after that. Okay, all good. Thank you very much, everybody. Bye bye.